those of you that have watched me for a while know that I'm a really big RWBY fan. I consider it one of the better pieces of Western animation that we have out there. I think the story and the world are incredible. I do think that it's a series that might off-put some people early on in season one, especially with some of the sort of janky animation that it did have back then. But enhancements to the software that they're using, and I think just overall experience. With those things like applied to it, I think that the show has sort of evolved a lot. It's had its ups and downs for sure, but I think with this newest volume, Volume 7, there are some things that they're doing better than ever, and there's other things that I wish that they could do better. It's sort of a mixed bag. Spoiler alert, I guess. If you haven't really seen a whole lot of RWBY before, you're going to be kind of spoiled. I'll try to avoid it as much as I can, but personally, I don't really care a ton about spoilers, I guess. But if you want to know nothing but my little base opinion on Volume 7, I was entertained by Volume 7. I think it was pretty good. I think it's way better than Volumes 4 and 5. At times, it's even cooler than Volumes 3 and 6, which I consider to be some of the better sections of the show. But only at times. I'd say most of the time, like in general, it's on par with 3 and 6, but not overall better, if that makes sense. I think that there's aspects to this volume that are really, really cool, and then other stuff that they sort of really missed the boat on. And I really, really loved Volume 3, and I really, really loved the lore aspect of Volume 6, and sort of the development the show took in Volume 6. And that's not always as prevalent here, but I still think that any RWBY fan will really, really like this volume. And if you've watched the series up until now, this is definitely not a don't miss this for sure. If you've never checked out RWBY before, I definitely highly recommend checking out the show. But obviously start with like season 1. And if you care about spoilers, then just go watch that. Give it some time, because season 1 I consider not necessarily the best season. Definitely picks up seasons 2 and 3. 3, as I mentioned, being one of the best ones. But with that aside, I'll get into like some other generic good things that I liked about this volume. So of course, let's get this out of the way. Music and animation are awesomely done. Good job, Rooster Teeth. Good job to, I think it's Casey Lee Williams, is that her name? And her dad, whose name I can't remember, who do the soundtrack. They introduced a bunch of new songs this time around. The OP was really cool. There's a lot of like different songs here in the soundtrack that are really, really nice. And it seemed like they added more songs than what they normally do. So really good job presentation-wise. As like with every season, I think the voice acting gets like a lot better. I mean, yeah, they've hired a lot of like, comparatively to like just in season 1. As RWBY's progressed, they've hired a lot more actual, more seasoned voice actors. It seems like, and of course those guys do a good job. But I'm also impressed by like the main cast. Like it never feels like phoned in anymore. We're kind of like well past that point, but I haven't done necessarily a video on every volume, but I feel like it should be said that these voice actors all do a really good job on the show, in my opinion. So presentation wise, this was really good. It has other things that I liked about this volume. It has some solid action. I think this was one of the better action filled volumes of the series run, and that's like including like the tournament arc part early on, and even some of the fight sequences that we've had in the past. It also leads into like one of my issues with it, but we'll talk about that in a bit. But it's definitely binge worthy. It's definitely like I'm definitely going to rewatch this just kind of in like one sitting, like a movie kind of style. I think but you could watch this like weekly too. I think it's the kind of volume that you could probably do either, because there's a lot of tension here. I think that's like the big word I would take away from this volume is tension. There is a lot because it's sort of taking place mostly in this, or entirely really in this one city, and there's a lot of characters kind of thrown in and a lot of stuff going on. The tension rises a lot, and it there's like inner turmoil. There's like overall world stuff going on. If you know like the lore of the story, this is where we'll start to get into sort of spoiler territory. If you haven't really seen previous volumes, obviously, if you have seen shit, then you know the stuff with Salem and Ozpin in the past and stuff like that. Obviously, Salem is still around, and her sort of minions cohorts are, like a lot of this takes place in Atlas, and a lot of shit's going down in Atlas, and this was an interesting setting. I liked how we got to see, obviously more of Atlas than we have ever before. It really does a good job depicting the sort of militaristic government versus sort of like a common people. There's this like election thing going on. That's like the big sort of premise here. That's something that I didn't really like as much. Like, it focuses a lot on this election thing for this like council that Weiss's dad wants to be part of, and Ironwood, and there's this other character, Robin, who leads this like huntress group thing that's really sticks up for like the common people. While that's like interesting and like I get it, they really like kind of hovered on that for like too long, I guess. And I get it. It's sort of like to build up the tension that I thought was really good. But it also leads to like other problems that I have, and that's so while there's lots of tension and there's like a good amount of action, this is a problem that I find like recurring in RWBY sometimes. The action doesn't really like go anywhere. Like it doesn't. Yeah, there's fight scenes. Yeah, they look cool, but there's never really like a cost like anymore. Like okay, like Volume 3, like we lost Pyrrha. Like spoiler alert, we temporarily lost Penny. Penny is back here. And while that's cool, it's great to see Penny again. I love Penny. Penny's a great character. But I liked Pyrrha a lot more. And I feel like a lot of people might have been pissed off in Volume 3. And it might, I don't know if this is necessarily planned out from the beginning. I guess it makes more sense to bring Penny back because of her, she's a robot. So in theory, I guess you could just bring her back. Which they do, and it's cool to see her back. And she plays a major part in this volume, and it's cool. What I, like, don't get me wrong. Do I want them to, like, bring Pyrrha back? No. Like, the loss of Pyrrha is a major driving force, like, within the rest of her team and the other characters in this series. And I kind of like when they harken back to that. Like, I like those moments where Jean is, like, emotionally damaged over the loss of Pyrrha and the team and stuff like that. And, she's within their memories and stuff. And it's, like I said, it's a driving force for them. I like that aspect to it. There's not a lot of, like, loss with these fights. Like nobody really dies. Like, even the bad guys. Like, there's this awesome fight between Ironwood and Watts. And it seems like he's going to kill Watts, but then you find out, nope, he's just in a jail cell. And, it gets kind of, like, I feel like they're kind of babying it. I don't know. Like, it doesn't, you don't gotta show me, like, somebody getting their head cut off and just flying across the room, okay? I get it. This isn't Shigarui Death Frenzy here, alright? I understand that. But at the same time, I want, like, if you're gonna have real combat, you got these, like, and I get it, they have aura and stuff, and you really vamped up the stakes of what we're fighting for here in Volume 6. Like, Volume 6 did such a great job of, like, the lore and stuff, and sort of, like, the raising, like I was saying, what we're fighting over. Like the strength of the opponent is very, very strong. And the show seems to, like, build up people to be strong and then just have a lot of fights that end very quickly with not really any loss. Like, it's a lot of, like, stalemate kind of fights, or, like, wow, glad we got out of that one. Like, there's this, one big one, like, there's this fight with, like, this group called the Aesops, who are this like group of hunters in Haven. There's like the best hunter, not Haven, Atlas, like the best hunters like in Atlas or whatever. I might have been calling it Haven this entire time. I'm sorry, in Atlas. Um, and they're cool. We get to know some of them. The personality is like pretty different from Team RWBY, and they touch on that like a little bit. And then the series builds up to this cool fight between Team RWBY and the Aesops, and it lasts like not not nearly long enough. And it's not like Team RWBY has very little trouble with the Aesops. And I get it, they're the main characters, right? They're all really strong. They've all dealt with a lot of shit, certainly more than most hunters and huntresses of their age and stuff like that. But it would have been nice to have more. While there's worldly tension, it would have been nice to have more like battle tension, if that makes sense, in my opinion. Maybe you disagree with me. It's not like a bad fight. Like, it's visually entertaining. Like, it's cool. Like the fights in this season look really cool, like I said. But it loses weight to me when we no longer have moments like Penny Pyrrha, like that kind of stuff. Like, we no longer have like even stuff, even like the apathy, like in in volume 6, like that was dangerously close to like being like, oh shit, we might lose somebody here or something, right? And then no. Like, okay, back in the day, even I harken back to like we've lost Torchwick. Like, the series used to like actually take characters away, and now it just seems like, well, I don't know if they're scared of pissing off fans or something, but I don't know. And I'm not saying anybody deserves to die off. I mean, I love these characters. I love this show. I don't mean to make it seem like I hate it, but I just kind of got to voice my opinion about what I don't like. There's not a lot of development in the main cast, I think, in this volume. Besides like Oscar, if you count him in like the main cast, but like Team RWBY gets like next to nothing. Like, RWBY herself is still just there. This is a complaint a lot of people have with the show. She's like, it's called RWBY. She's the leader of Team RWBY. There's episodes where she gets like 5 lines. Like, I don't know, man. They're still seeming to ship Yang and Blake. I mean, which is cool. I'm a huge Yang fan. So, if we want to get some Yang Blake action, I'm all for it. But I mean, I am also like, I personally sort of ship Blake and what's his name, Sun, I think. Like, where did that go? Like, like, why don't we get some insight on Sun or whatever? I might be saying his name wrong. But I don't know. Like, yeah, like I said, I don't know what's going on with Sun. Ironwood, like, not part of the main cast, gets some cool development. I guess let me go back to the team like here. So, I mentioned RWBY, Blake, Yang. Weiss, I would say, gets like the most of like the team development in this season, like the most like development in terms of like the members of the main cast, which isn't saying much. Like, you're not really beating anybody here. You get some stuff between her and her mom, and it's really cool. We get to see her. We get to know a little bit about her background and her family and stuff like that. Her family's pretty big part of this with the election going on, and we spend a lot of time in their mansion. And Winter, is a big part of this, and we get, she has a solid bond with Winter. We get to see that. That was done pretty well. Like, it almost seems like Weiss is the main character. Like, maybe the show should be called Weiss. Because that doesn't really happen to RWBY. And I consider that kind of weird. I don't know. Ironwood, I would say, was probably like the star of this season. He goes through crazy up and downs. He's got this nice beard going on. He's very stressed out because he's trying to reconnect the world with this communication system that he's building, but he's trying to keep it like hush hush, and sort of stay in charge. And of course, slowly shit starts to like unravel information about how Salem's like supposedly unstoppable and everything. And his trust for everybody around him besides his own actions seems to start to dwindle. And he basically goes from like hero to sort of villain, anti-hero kind of guy toward the end. It's cool interaction between him and Oscar slash Ozpin toward the end of the season. I thought that was really cool. Yeah, I'd say like highlight character of the season would definitely be Ironwood. You know, we get Neo back in a lot of scenes, which is really cool. Doing some stuff with Cinder. Cinder, I think, could have been like I love Cinder, so I was really hoping that Cinder would be back more. She's in there more toward the end. Of course, Neo's Neo, fan favorite. Really cool character. I would have liked to see more. Like I really want a showdown between Neo and Cinder, personally. And I wonder if that's coming in Volume 8. But maybe, maybe not. But like I said, I didn't really like the whole election thing. They introduced this character, Robin, who's kind of cool. I think seems to be way more popular than I think like she's really worth. There's this guy, Clover, who's the leader of these Aesops, who has a strong bond with Crow. They have like opposite semblances, which is kind of cool, I guess. But I didn't really like either of them. Like I just it's like I feel like I'm playing like Sonic Heroes. Like I care about Sonic and like the main guys. Like I care like don't shove the stupid purple cat guy at me who I don't care about. Like don't really shove Clover and Robin in my face a ton. I don't care about them. I want to spend my time with Team RWBY. Like I want to know more like I don't know, or even the villains. Like I want more, like Salem. Like this big villain is barely here. I don't know if she has any like lines. I don't remember. Maybe. Oh yeah, she does. She's in like this one scene. But I don't know, man. It's just I don't know. It's just I got built up to be like let down. Maybe I expected too much out of some stuff, but yeah, it just seems like Salem is like the elephant in the room that a lot of like it's seemingly like ignored, I guess. And I guess what you could argue is like a lot of the conflict in this season is supposed to take place within the interpersonal relationships of Atlas, and I guess that could make sense, but I don't think it's nearly as interesting. Like season 6 for me was very, very cool because Volume 6 rather was very cool because it built up like this lore and it made the world seem so much huger than it was. And this made it way smaller. But I don't know. I guess overall, because I know I've dabbled into some spoilers, but I kind of want to dance around as much as I can. I thought this season, like, don't get me wrong, it was solid. I don't want people to be, like, stressed out at me saying that I'm, like, a hater. Because I'm not. I was entertained. Like, there were parts that bored me, but there are really cool fights. Like I said, Iron versus Watts is this really cool fight that happens. Team RWBY versus the Aesops was cool for what it was. All the characters get, like, these new character designs, by the way, I should have mentioned. All look really good. Like, I love, like, the new outfits and hairstyles of the characters and stuff like that. They're really cool. You got some cool like tandem fighting action with like Blake and Yang, and that's really, really cool to watch. There's some new Grimm that they showcased, all looking like really badass. I'm really excited for Volume 8. Honestly, like Rooster Teeth has said that I guess that Volume 8 is going to go off right where this ended, which would make sense. And I'm really, really excited for that. I do want some more character development. Like I want RWBY to be sort of like more center stage, and even like there was other side characters that I cared about more. Like what is Raven up to? Like I don't know. Like I don't know. Maybe I guess maybe that's asking too much to fit too much in here. But I want more character development. I want more relationship management. I want to know, are we full on shipping Blake Yang, or is Sun going to come back? Like, what's going on with that? I want more meaningful fights, more RWBY in general. Like I said, I want more Salem, more Cinder, more Neo. Give me more of these things and less Robin and less Clover or whatever his name is. Less Tyrion, less Watts. Like, I'm tired of those guys. Like, like if you're gonna bring them back, like you like bring back what the hell was her name, Emerald or something? I don't know, but characters I just didn't necessarily care for as much. But I don't know. Maybe I'm kind of picky with my characters. What did you guys think about RWBY Volume 7? Did you like it? Is it your favorite volume? I know it's some people's favorite volume. I think it's I think it's an okay volume with a really cool conclusion. Um, that could have been like a lot better. Could have been a lot worse though. So let me know down below what you guys think. If you guys like what I do here, please consider joining my Patreon. I'll have a link to that down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Miasma, and I'll see you next time.